All right, strap yourselves in because we are taking off on a deep dive into the story of the Wright brothers.
Always a good one.
You know it. You sent us this incredible audio source about their journey to powered flight, and let me tell you,
Oh, yeah.
it is so much more than just a history lesson.
It really is.
Yeah.
I think we often think of the Wright brothers as these legendary figures, but this source, this audio source, really reveals that human side.
Yeah.
The grit, the setbacks.
Sure.
And, I mean, their self-reliance in a time when flight was still a fantasy.
Exactly. So we start with them as these young men
Yeah.
in Dayton, Ohio, running a bicycle shop. But even back then, they were obsessed with this idea of flight.
Right.
Tinkering with kites, reading everything they could find on the subject. There's even this letter from Wilbur to the Smithsonian.
Oh, yeah.
Basically saying, hey, we're serious about this flying thing. Send us all your research.
I love that letter because it shows their methodical,
Right.
almost scientific approach. They weren't just hobbyists.
Yeah.
They were actively seeking knowledge,
Yeah.
immersing themselves in the research of their time.
I know. And this is the late 1800s.
Right.
When heavier than air flight
Yeah.
was considered by many to be impossible.
Oh, yeah.
I never realized how much of the scientific community actually doubted them. You'd think the Smithsonian would be thrilled
Right.
to have these bright young minds
Yeah.
reaching out.
The Smithsonian was actually backing another prominent figure in the race for flight,
Oh,
Samuel Langley.
okay.
He had government funding and was working on his own flying machine called the aerodrome.
Interesting.
It was a complex, almost steampunk contraption
Wow.
compared to the Wright's DIY gliders.
Right.
But he was considered the more legitimate contender at the time.
Wow. So the Wrights were kind of like these underdogs, the scrappy outsiders, challenging the scientific establishment.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah.
And speaking of challenges, the source mentions this turning point in their lives.
Oh, yeah.
Orville contracts typhoid fever
Right.
and nearly dies.
It's a scary moment.
It's during his recovery
Yeah.
that Wilbur really dives back into their shared dream of flight. It really highlights their bond as brothers.
Absolutely. It was as if facing mortality rekindled their passion for something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
And they weren't alone in their pursuit.
Okay.
Their sister, Catherine,
Yeah.
played a crucial role, offering unwavering support
Oh, wow.
and even helping them build that first glider.
Hold on. She helped build the glider?
Yeah.
That's amazing. We don't often hear about Catherine's contribution to their success.
She's often overlooked, but the audio source paints her as a pivotal figure.
Wow.
She was a teacher, but she was clearly a skilled builder and a source of constant encouragement,
Yeah.
especially after their mother passed away.
It's incredible how they used their bicycle business to fund their early flight experiments. Talk about bootstrapping a dream. I guess no government grants or wealthy patrons were knocking on their door.
Their self-reliance becomes a recurring theme throughout their journey.
Yeah.
It's almost as if operating outside the established scientific community allowed them to experiment more freely
Yeah.
and quickly.
Yeah.
They were meticulous, self-taught, learning by doing.
Yeah.
They studied birds, read every book and article
I love that.
they could get their hands on, constantly pushing the boundaries
Yeah.
of what was known about flight.
Okay, so let's talk about Kitty Hawk.
Okay.
Why did they choose this remote spot on the Outer Banks of North Carolina for their tests?
Yeah.
It seems pretty far from Dayton.
They needed a place with consistent wind, open space,
Okay.
and soft sand for those inevitable crash landings.
Yeah.
Kitty Hawk checked all the boxes.
Right.
Plus, they got this great tip from Octave Chanute.
Chanute, wasn't he like a rival or something?
Actually, he was more of a mentor.
Oh, okay.
He was a civil engineer and aviation enthusiast who had been corresponding with Wilbur.
Oh, wow.
They exchanged ideas and theories, and Chanute,
Yeah.
who was much more established in the field,
Right.
really encouraged their work.
Cool.
He even visited them at Kitty Hawk
Wow.
and provided valuable advice based on his own experiments.
So he was like a bridge between the Wrights and the larger scientific community.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm starting to see how this web of connections played a role in their journey.
Oh, yeah.
But getting back to Kitty Hawk,
Yeah.
the audio source paints a pretty desolate picture.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Imagine miles of sand dunes,
Right.
harsh weather, very few amenities.
Oh my gosh.
They were essentially camping out,
Yeah.
relying on locals like Bill Tate, a fisherman who became a key helper and friend.
It sounds like they were really roughing it.
They were.
And their first glider, not exactly a marvel of engineering, right?
No.
I mean, they were essentially competing with Langley's sophisticated aerodrome.
Their early gliders were pretty rudimentary,
Yeah.
to say the least. Think giant kites made of wood, wire, and fabric.
Wow.
But each iteration was meticulously crafted,
Okay.
incorporating their evolving understanding of lift, control, and this radical new concept Wilbur developed called wing warping.
Wing warping. That sounds kind of intense.
It was their attempt to control the aircraft's roll by twisting the wings.
Okay.
They got the idea by observing how birds twisted their wings to turn.
Interesting.
It's a far cry from the ailerons we have on modern airplanes.
Right.
But it was a revolutionary concept at the time.
It's amazing how they were able to make such progress with limited resources and essentially no outside help.
It really speaks to their ingenuity and their ability to learn from their mistakes. Because let me tell you, there were a lot of crashes.
Oh, I bet.
The source describes Wilbur lying flat on the lower wing,
Oh, wow.
controlling the glider with ropes and levers. No cockpit, no safety harness, just sheer guts and a belief in their vision.
You have to admire their dedication, especially knowing how dangerous those early experiments were.
And they faced setbacks constantly.
Yeah.
One crash even sent Orville flying through the air.
Oh, no.
Bill Tate, the fisherman who befriended them, suggested they move their tests to the Kill Devil Hills,
Okay.
a series of higher dunes that offered better lift.
Okay.
They took his advice, constantly adapting
Yeah.
and improving their designs.
So from 1900 to 1902, they were basically in this cycle of build, test, crash, repeat.
Pretty much, yeah.
I can't imagine how frustrating that must have been.
Yeah.
Especially with Langley making headlines with his well-funded aerodrome.
It was a grueling process.
Yeah.
They were battling the elements, mosquitoes, storms,
Wow.
and living in pretty Spartan conditions.
Oh my gosh.
But even when Wilbur famously said, "Not in 1,000 years would man fly,"
Right.
after a particularly frustrating season,
Yeah.
they kept pushing forward.
Wow.
They just didn't give up.
This wasn't some glamorous, well-funded research project.
Yep.
It was gritty, hands-on experimentation fueled by their own passion and resources.
Absolutely.
It makes their story even more compelling, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And their perseverance would eventually pay off.
Mm-hmm.
But in the early 1900s, they were still largely unknown,
Right.
working in relative obscurity while Langley garnered the spotlight.
Wow.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
While Langley is preparing for these highly publicized test flights
Right.
funded by the War Department,
Wow.
attracting all this national attention,
Yeah.
the Wright brothers are back in Dayton,
Okay.
working above their bicycle shop.
I love it.
But they're not building bikes.
Right.
They're constructing something truly ingenious.
What's that?
A wind tunnel.
Wait, a wind tunnel in a bicycle shop.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know.
I'm picturing sawdust and bicycle parts flying everywhere.
I know, right?
What were they trying to achieve with that?
Well, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
They built this 6-foot-long wooden box with this powerful fan at one end,
Okay.
creating their own controlled environment
Right.
to study aerodynamics.
So smart.
They were essentially creating miniature wings
Okay.
out of hacksaw blades, meticulously shaping and bending them,
Okay.
and then testing how the air flowed over them in the tunnel.
So they were like miniature aircraft designers,
Yeah.
gathering data, refining their designs through trial and error.
Exactly.
Wow, I never knew about this part of their story.
It was a critical step in their journey.
Yeah.
They logged countless hours
Yeah.
in that makeshift wind tunnel, meticulously documenting their findings.
Wow.
This scientific approach,
Right.
combined with their practical experience in Kitty Hawk,
Yeah.
gave them this unique edge over their rivals.
Yeah.
They were blending theory and practice in a way that was truly groundbreaking.
So while Langley is working with government funding and teams of engineers,
Yeah.
the Wright brothers are essentially bootstrapping their way to scientific breakthroughs.
Yeah.
In a bicycle shop.
I know.
What a contrast.
And it's around this time that Octave Chanute,
Oh, yeah.
impressed with their progress,
Mm-hmm.
offers to connect them with a potential financial backer.
Wow.
He even suggests Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate.
That's a big deal.
Can you imagine the resources they could have had?
That's incredible. Did they jump at the chance?
Surprisingly, they declined.
What? Really?
Yeah, they were grateful for the offer,
Yeah.
but insisted on maintaining complete control over their work.
Hmm.
It seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks volumes about their character
Yeah.
and their commitment to their vision.
But wasn't that a huge risk?
Yeah.
I mean, they were competing against this well-funded,
Yeah.
government-backed project.
Couldn't they have achieved their goals faster with more support?
Maybe, but there's this certain purity to their approach.
Yeah.
They weren't driven by fame or fortune.
Right.
They were driven by this relentless pursuit of their dream.
And their independent spirit allowed them to experiment freely,
Right.
to pivot quickly when they encountered setbacks,
Yeah.
and ultimately to develop a deeper understanding of the principles of flight.
I guess there's something to be said for that kind of creative freedom.
Absolutely.
But back to their experiments.
Yeah.
By 1902, they're back at Kitty Hawk
Mm-hmm.
with their third glider, bigger and more refined than ever.
Right.
What did they learn from this round of tests?
This is where Orville's ingenuity takes center stage.
Okay.
After a crash early on,
Oh.
he comes up with a brilliant solution
Okay.
to this problem that had been plaguing them.
Okay.
How to control the glider's yaw,
Oh, okay.
or its tendency to skid sideways during turns.
Got it.
Their previous gliders had fixed rudders,
Yeah.
which made turning difficult and unpredictable.
Right.
Orville proposed this hinged rudder
Okay.
that could be controlled with the pilot's hips,
Interesting.
linked to their innovative wing warping mechanism.
So as they twisted their hips to bank the wings, they could simultaneously control the rudder for smoother, more coordinated turns.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
It was a remarkably simple,
Yeah.
yet elegant solution,
Yeah.
born out of necessity and their deep understanding of the forces at play during flight,
Yeah.
and it transformed their glider
Yeah.
into a much more stable and controllable aircraft.
So simple, yet so effective.
Right.
It's incredible how they were able to make such significant strides with limited resources.
I know.
I imagine they were ecstatic with the results.
Their 1902 glider was a triumph.
Yeah.
They made hundreds of flights,
Wow.
some lasting almost a minute,
Wow.
gliding over 600 feet.
That's amazing.
It was the closest they'd come to achieving true, sustained flight.
Wow.
Wilbur even wrote to their father,
Oh, wow.
saying, "We now believe that the flying problem is really nearing its solution."
They were on the cusp of a breakthrough.
Yeah.
But remember, Samuel Langley is still out there
Oh, wait.
working on his aerodrome.
Yeah.
And in 1903, things heat up. Langley announces he's ready for manned test flights.
Huge.
He's going to launch his machine from a houseboat on the Potomac River. No less.
Crazy.
With reporters and dignitaries watching. What a spectacle. How did the Wright brothers respond to this?
It must have been incredibly daunting.
Yeah.
Langley had the weight of the Smithsonian and the government behind him.
Yeah.
And his project was generating so much excitement.
Right.
The pressure must have been immense.
I can't even imagine.
But the Wrights, true to form, remained focused on their own work.
Yeah.
They knew they had achieved gliding,
Right.
but powered, controlled flight was the ultimate goal.
Right.
And they were determined to be the first.
So they had a choice to make.
Yes.
Stick to their meticulous step-by-step approach or take a riskier path
Yeah.
to try and beat Langley to the punch.
They faced a real dilemma.
Yeah.
Do they reveal their progress,
Right.
knowing they might be copied or ridiculed?
Yeah.
Or do they continue working in secrecy, risking being overshadowed by Langley's success?
I can only imagine the tension they must have felt. So what did they do?
They doubled down on their efforts.
Okay.
They returned to Dayton,
Yeah.
and with the help of their mechanic,
Yeah.
Charlie Taylor,
Okay.
they designed and built a lightweight, powerful engine,
Wow.
specifically for their flying machine.
Okay.
They also crafted these custom-made propellers,
Right.
meticulously shaping them
Yeah.
based on their wind tunnel data
Right.
to maximize thrust and efficiency.
This is it.
Yeah.
The moment they transition from gliders to a true powered aircraft,
Exactly.
what an incredible leap forward.
It was a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
They called their creation simply the Flyer,
Okay.
a name that would soon become synonymous
Right.
with the dawn of aviation.
Yeah.
And in September of 1903,
Okay.
with their new machine in tow,
Yeah.
they returned to Kitty Hawk,
Right.
ready to make history.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
I know, it's exciting.
Tell me everything about that first flight. Tell me everything about that first flight.
Well, they set up camp at Kill Devil Hills.
Okay.
And after weeks of preparation,
Yeah.
on December 14th, 1903,
Okay.
they were ready
All right.
for their first attempt at powered flight.
I can't even imagine.
The wind was strong that day,
Yeah.
and the air was thick with anticipation.
I bet.
Wilbur won the coin toss
Okay.
to pilot the first flight.
Wow.
He climbed aboard the flyer,
Okay.
lying prone on the lower wing,
Yeah.
and started the engine.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what must have been going through his mind at that moment.
With Orville running alongside,
Yeah.
steadying the wing,
Right.
the flyer lurched forward,
Okay.
gaining speed.
Yeah.
And then it lifted into the air
They did it. They actually flew.
for 12 glorious seconds.
Wow.
The flyer soared above the sand dunes,
That's amazing.
traveling 120 feet
Wow.
before touching down gently.
That's incredible.
It was a short flight, but it was a monumental achievement.
It really was.
The first successful, controlled, powered flight in history.
I know. It's like,
They had defied gravity,
yeah.
silenced the doubters,
Literally.
and ushered in a new era.
This is the moment that we all learn about in history books.
Right.
But the story doesn't end there, does it?
Not at all.
What happened next?
They made 3 more flights that day,
Wow.
with Orville taking his turn at the controls.
Okay.
They continued making flights over the next few days,
Yeah.
each one longer and more impressive
Wow.
than the last.
That's so cool.
The longest flight,
Yeah.
piloted by Wilbur,
Okay.
covered 852 feet
Wow.
and lasted almost a minute.
That's amazing.
So they had irrefutable proof of their success.
So how did the world react to this incredible...
You'd think the news would have traveled around the world like wildfire.
Right. I mean, come on.
But their triumph was met with, well, a bit of a shrug.
What? They achieved powered flight and no one cared. Why not?
Well, remember, they were still these relatively unknown bicycle makers from Ohio,
Right.
working in relative secrecy.
Right.
They hadn't sought publicity,
Okay.
and they lacked the institutional backing of someone like Langley.
Yeah.
Frankly, the idea of heavier-than-air flight was still so radical,
Yeah.
so unbelievable to most people.
It's almost like they were too far ahead of their time.
Yeah.
Like the world wasn't ready
Yeah, exactly.
to accept what they had achieved.
Their achievement, though groundbreaking,
Yeah.
was initially overshadowed
Yeah.
by Langley's very public failure just a few days earlier.
Oh, right. Langley's aerodrome
Yeah.
crashed spectacularly in front of a huge crowd of reporters.
It was a complete disaster.
Yeah.
And it cast a long shadow over the idea of powered flight.
Oh, wow.
People were skeptical.
Yeah.
The Wrights, despite having achieved the impossible,
Right.
faced an uphill battle to prove their legitimacy and gain recognition.
So they had conquered the challenge of flight.
Yeah.
But now they faced a new challenge,
Yeah.
convincing the world that they had actually done it.
Exactly.
So what did they do next?
Well, they had filed for a patent in 1903,
Okay.
but the process was slow,
Yeah.
and it wasn't granted until 1906.
Wow. So they were in limbo for 3 years.
Yeah. In the meantime,
Yeah.
they faced a constant barrage of challenges.
Oh, I bet.
Some dismissed their claims as mere trickery,
Wow. Really?
while others sought to replicate their success
Yeah.
without acknowledging their groundbreaking work.
It sounds like the early days of aviation were a bit of a Wild West.
Yeah, there was this intense competition,
Right.
this race to capitalize on this new frontier.
Totally.
But the Wrights were determined to prove
Yeah.
that their flyer was the real deal,
Right.
the culmination of years of scientific research and meticulous experimentation.
Yeah.
They weren't just daredevils, they
Yeah.
were innovators
Yeah.
who had unlocked the secrets of flight.
And they weren't content to rest on their laurels, were they?
No, not at all.
They continued to refine their invention,
Absolutely.
even as they faced all these challenges.
They were constantly tinkering, improving the design,
Yeah.
making it more powerful, more reliable,
Right.
and more controllable.
Yeah.
In 1905, they unveiled the Flyer III,
Okay.
which was a significant leap forward.
In what way?
It could stay aloft for over half an hour,
Wow.
make turns with ease,
Okay.
and even fly figure eights.
Now that's what I call progress.
Yeah.
Did those achievements finally start to change public opinion?
It's certainly caught the attention of the scientific community
Yeah.
and a few forward-thinking investors.
Okay.
They began demonstrating the Flyer III to a wider audience,
Okay.
inviting reporters and photographers
Really?
to witness its capabilities.
Wow.
Word started to spread,
Yeah.
and slowly, grudgingly, people began to accept the reality of powered flight.
But there were still doubters, right?
Oh, there were always skeptics,
Yeah.
but the evidence was becoming undeniable.
Right.
And then, in 1908,
Okay.
they achieved a major milestone.
Okay, what's that?
They secured a contract with the U.S. Army Signal Corps.
Wow.
to build a military aircraft.
That's a huge deal.
This was a game changer.
It really was, yeah.
It was a validation of their years of hard work,
Yeah.
their ingenuity, and their unwavering belief in their vision.
For sure.
The U.S. Army wouldn't invest in something that didn't work.
Exactly. It was a turning point for the Wrights and for the future of aviation.
Absolutely.
So what happened next?
That same year,
Okay.
they embarked on a trip to Europe
Wow.
to showcase their flyer to an international audience.
That's amazing.
And that's when they truly became global sensations.
So from a bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio,
I know, right?
to captivating the world with their flying machine, it's an incredible arc.
Crowds gathered to watch them soar through the air.
Yeah.
Newspapers hailed them as heroes.
I bet.
And governments recognized the strategic importance of their invention.
Yeah.
It was a whirlwind of success. A testament to their perseverance and their pioneering spirit.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah, me too.
You know, we tend to focus on that first flight at Kitty Hawk.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to their story.
Right.
The years of struggle, the setbacks, the constant innovation, and their unwavering determination.
For sure.
In the face of skepticism. It's truly inspiring.
What strikes me is how different their path was compared to those who had more resources or institutional support.
Right.
They relied on their own ingenuity, their own sweat and toil, and their unshakable belief in their dream.
I know.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Their story challenges our assumptions about what it takes to achieve true innovation.
Yeah.
Do we always need massive funding and institutional backing?
Right.
Or can groundbreaking ideas emerge
Yeah.
from the passion and dedication of individuals like the Wright brothers?
That's a question worth pondering.
For sure.
Their legacy extends far beyond the realm of aviation.
Absolutely.
They showed the world that with enough grit, ingenuity, and a willingness to defy the odds, even the seemingly impossible can take flight.
And that, my friends, is the story of the Wright brothers.
What a story.
From a humble bicycle shop to international acclaim, they changed the world forever.
It really did.
It's a testament to the power of human ingenuity,
Absolutely.
perseverance, and the audacity to dream big.
Who knows? Maybe their story will ignite the spark of innovation in others, inspiring a new generation of pioneers to reach for the stars.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this incredible deep dive into the story of the Wright brothers.
My pleasure.